Hello everyone, it's Dick here. Now it's my turn on the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. The Meteor is a single-cylinder, 4-stroke, air-cooled 349cc engine, putting out 20.2 brake horsepower at 6,100 RPM. It has 27 Newton-meters of torque at 4,000 RPM. It's electronically fuel-injected with a wet multiplate clutch and a 5-speed gearbox. It has telescoping 41mm front forks with 130mm of travel, and twin-tube emulsion shock absorbers with 6-step adjustment at the rear. It has a 19-inch alloy wheel at the front and a 17-inch alloy rear wheel at the back. It has 300mm disc brake, twin-piston floating caliper up front, and a 270mm single-piston floating caliper in the rear. It has dual-channel ABS and a 15-liter petrol tank. It has a 765mm or 30.1-inch seat height, is 191 kilograms or 421 pounds wet, and it has a 1400mm or 55-inch wheelbase. As some of you may know, I was not taken by my first impressions of the Meteor when it debuted at the London Motorcycle Show a couple of years ago, but I am open to having my mind changed, and perhaps a ride on it will reveal positive qualities otherwise hidden from me. Let's get it out on the road. But before we do that, I should mention that some Meteor owners have reached out to me on the channel and have mentioned how much they love their new bikes, but were put off by the seemingly premature valve clearance checks at the first service after 400 miles of break-in. Not only does that worry me from a mechanical perspective, but it worries me from a financial perspective as well. Mechanically, I am reluctant to have the cylinder head off of a new motorcycle so early. After some further research, this check and adjustment requires the tank, the EFI, and other parts to be removed or relocated, gasket seals to be replaced, and in many cases, significant valve clearance adjustments. Perhaps the classic 350 Fannie was experiencing slippages on was suffering from valve clearance issues, though I can't wholly reconcile that in my head. In any event, owners in the USA are being quoted $600 for first service, including valve clearance checks. The quote I got from a Royal Enfield shop in London was just shy of £200, which is the going rate for an oil and general checkover service. Neither the sales rep nor the service shop manager knew what first service included. When I mentioned the valve clearance checks, they mumbled some recognition. To put this into perspective, my BMW F700 GS requires its first valve check at 12,000 miles. Unless you hit 12,000 miles within your warranty period, many shop mechanics say to skip it to save the expense, as they almost never require adjustment. My Triumph valve checks are after 10,000 miles. I think of my engine the way a surgeon regards an abdomen. Open it up as a last resort. Anyway, some food for thought. Let's see how it rides. You ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Oh my God. Heel shifter, baby.
I know, right? You're feeling it. You're feeling it, aren't you? You're feeling it. Right?
Hey everybody, it's Dick here.
And Fannie, and today we're riding the Royal Enfield Classic 350 and the Royal Enfield Meteor.
So I'm just on the Meteor for the first time. I've ridden it about 150 feet. And I'm just laughing to myself because of how grown up this 350 feels.
I know, right?
This 350 feels very much like the V-Star 650 we had back in the States.
It's funny that you say that because I said the same thing.
The 650 is not a high-powered bike. You could find its limitations when you really tried to hammer it on the throttle, and you had to work through the gears, and it didn't behave like other 650s I had ridden before and since. And this 350 is actually punching a lot higher above its weight because it's riding like that underpowered 650. So this feels like an overpowered 350 that's bringing to mind my experience on an underpowered 650, which is really quite interesting. And the geometry is nearly perfect on this in terms of the width of the handlebars, the height of the seat, the width of the tank, the fact that you can see that headlight bucket out in front of you. It's a really well proportioned motorcycle, where when I was standing next to it at the motorcycle show and first saw it, I thought it was trying too hard to be something that it wasn't, but sitting on it, it's really well proportioned.
It is.
Aesthetically, I'm not sold on the mag wheels or the solid paint. I would much rather it be a bit more flashy, like that classic 350 that you're on.
Yeah, it needs a bit more character.
I'm finding the vibrations, it seems, I mean, there's no tachometer on this, but it seems to be around 4,500 RPM. I'm getting vibrations in the handlebars. But if I upshift or even downshift, that eliminates. So there's like a zone where that vibration lives, but it's not nearly as vibey as a Royal Enfield. I mean, yes, this is a Royal Enfield, but it's not vibey like a Royal Enfield. It actually sits a lot like that Yamaha Bolt, that kind of sportstery Yamaha that was out for a couple of years. What's funny is on that bike you're thinking, am I getting the value for money in that bike? On this bike you're kind of feeling like you're getting a little more bike for the money.
Oh, definitely.
It's really weird.
It's like a hidden secret. It's like I hope people don't find out, because then they're gonna start charging more for these bikes.
It's the same fucking bike. I mean,
I know. No.
Fundamentally, it's the same fucking bike, but it's
also different.
It's such a different experience. It's just so funny how geometry and a couple of little component choices makes bikes, which is why, I don't know, it's really weird. I didn't think this would be the case, but I prefer the Meteor over the classic 350.
I prefer the Meteor. I wholly agree. I like it enough to say that one day I would probably want one as part of the fleet.
Yeah, it's not a bad motorcycle. I do have a problem getting my foot under the toe shifter, which
yeah. But see, I had the same problem with the classic 350.
I didn't have that much of a problem. I mean, I had to kind of tip my toe to get under that. I did not have as much of a problem on that as I'm having on this. So I find myself lifting, my foot isn't big enough, and I don't have the range of motion in my busted old ankles to use the heel shifter, because I also don't have a heel on my boot, which is what these are designed for as well, those motorcycle boots with heels. So I'm lifting my foot and dropping my toe onto the heel shifter, just so I don't have to get it under the, which isn't a problem. I used to do that on the V-Star as well.
Remember when I said to you when I was looking for bikes?
Yeah.
In my price range.
Yeah.
And I said there were some Continental GTs.
Yeah.
And there were quite a few Royal Enfield Meteors. It seemed that everybody was selling their Meteors with like 150 miles, 200 miles, 500 miles.
Yeah.
Like there are so many in the used market right now. I'm wondering why. Because to me, that's a fun bike.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my thoughts on that after I hammer it on this straight away. I just want to see if I can get the same experience on this as I got on that. I'm getting less protesting from the engine on this when I'm hammering it. Than I was on the classic 350. I'm getting vibrations in my foot pegs now when I'm really hammering it, but I'm not overly concerned about that. because I'm getting a very spirited ride. I wonder, short of us discovering some sort of recall or mechanical issue that has plagued early meteors, I wonder if people were seduced by their demo ride on this and then thought that this bike could do more than it can.
Well, it'd be interesting. Maybe it sheds its skin on the highway. We don't know. Like I said, I was getting a lot of vibe in the seat.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking someone looks at this and goes, wow, that's a lot of bike for the money. And they buy it. And then they put some bags on it and they go, I'm going to do my Scotland tour that I've always dreamed of doing. And they go, shit, this thing sucks on the highway. There must be some sort of buyer's remorse rooted in expectation versus reality.
Yeah.
Where we, who own multiple motorcycles and know what different motorcycles can do and don't really ask, well, I do, but don't really ask motorcycles to do what they're not designed to do. And if I do ask them to do what they're not designed to do, I have an understanding that it's not going to do it as good as another motorcycle. But if someone's buying this as a one bike owner, a one bike stable, I'm sure you could very quickly find its shortcomings. But on these roads, or in a city like this urban situation, this bike is very manageable, but it also feels like you're getting more bike than what you're on.
Yeah.
But you know what? If there are a lot of lightly used examples of these that's driving the prices down, then, you know, let's take advantage of someone's buyer's remorse. And if you get it for a bargain, you know, you're a little less precious about it in terms of doing a custom paint job or swapping out the exhaust or
definitely
making it a bit more choppery than you would on a showroom model.
I tell you, I'm super impressed with the Meteor. It defied all of my expectations, but I have to imagine, I have my suspicions with the vibrations in the seat, how this bike would perform at high speeds on the highway, you know, and how that would impact my riding experience. But for the type of bike that I'm looking for, it's definitely a massive contender because it really made me smile, and I thought, super. It's just super. Even the name is like the Meteor.
Yeah, it's not an asteroid.
I mean, it's not an asteroid, it's a meteor.
A meteor is small. A little zippy thing.
Yeah, a little zippy thing.
Both of these bikes have outperformed my expectations. The Meteor is definitely the revelation of this ride, but both of them punched above their weight in terms of expectations for me. Anyway, thank you for the ride, love.
No, you're welcome.
There's a split on the seat here. If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.